Mechanical culture is much cheaper than the human version and perfectly adequate for a post-nuanced transhuman age. Probably better. Wow. That's quite a statement to kick things off, isn't it? And it really sets the scene perfectly for what we're exploring today on the deep dive. We're diving into this fascinating and frankly fast-moving world where artificial intelligence meets art and creativity. Yeah, we're going to be digging into some big questions today, questions that really challenge how we think about ingenuity itself. Like, can machines actually be creative? How do they even start making art? And maybe the biggest question, what does all this mean for us, for human creativity?
It's an area that's just exploding, you know? It feels like every week there's something new that challenges our basic definitions of what creativity even is. So our mission today really is to help you cut through some of that noise. We want to give you a solid understanding of the tech, the history, which is surprisingly deep, and also touch on those big ethical questions swirling around AI art. The goal is for you to come away feeling informed, but hopefully not, totally overwhelmed.
Definitely. And to help us navigate all this, we're grounding our discussion in some really great sources. We'll be drawing from Marcus du Sautoy's book, The Creativity Code, How AI is Learning to Write, Paint, and Think, which is super insightful, and also using a very practical guide from Coursera called What is AI Art? How it works, and how to create it. So a mix of the philosophical and the practical. Okay, so AI art.
Yeah.
The term is everywhere, especially if you follow digital art trends at all. But maybe let's just quickly level set. How are our sources defining AI art in simple terms?
Right. Basically, AI art is digital art that's been created or maybe edited or enhanced in some significant way using AI tools and tech. And it's important to remember it's not just pictures and videos, though that's what gets a lot of attention. It can be music, writing,
Mm.
even generating code for interactive art. It's a really broad field.
Got it. Broad scope. And underneath all these different types of creations, what's the engine driving it? What's the core tech?
Well, the key thing is what we call generative AI. It's maybe less like one specific tool and more like a collection of them. Built from algorithms, basically complex sets of rules and, advanced math. These systems are trained on absolutely enormous data sets. Think millions of images or text or sound files. They learn the patterns, the relationships, the sort of underlying structures within that data. And that deep learning lets them not just recognize stuff, but actually generate new things, new images, new texts that follow those patterns they learned.
Okay.
It's kind of the next big step after tools like Photoshop, just the latest evolution in digital creation.
That makes sense, like an apprentice learning styles, but on a massive scale. Now, here's something I found really interesting. AI art feels so cutting edge, like it just appeared.
Yeah.
But our sources suggest the roots go back way further than you might think. Where does this story really start?
Yeah, that's a great point. The idea of using chance or automation in art. It's not really new. Christie's actually traces some of these processes back to the avant-garde movement's early 20th century.
You mean like Dadaism, Surrealism, back in the 1920s, 30s?
Yeah.
How do they connect?
Exactly, those movements. They were all about playing with unpredictability, with technology, even simple tech back then, and messing with reality and art. Think about automatic drawing or techniques that tried to bypass the artist's conscious control. There's a kind of philosophical link there to letting an algorithm explore possibilities. Then fast forward to the 1960s, you had this real collision of culture and actual engineering technology, leading directly to early forms of computer-generated art.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, the idea of machines having a hand in creativity, it's been evolving for a while. It didn't just pop up overnight.
Okay, so if machines have been involved in art for longer than we think,
Yeah.
that brings us right to the core issue, doesn't it? The big philosophical question, which is exactly what Marcus du Sautoy tackles in the Creativity Code. He basically asks, will a computer ever compose a symphony, write a prize-winning novel, paint a masterpiece? And maybe even trickier. If it did, would we know? Could we tell the difference?
DeStutoy's approach is really fascinating. He doesn't just say yes or no. Instead, he digs into what creativity means, both for us humans and for algorithms. He looks at, how algorithms actually work, the math behind them, and he asks these really deep questions like, how much of our emotional reaction to art is just our brain responding to patterns and structure? What does it really mean to be creative, whether you're talking math or music or painting?
Yeah, I was really caught by his idea that AI might not just imitate us, but actually jolt us into being more imaginative in turn. That feels counterintuitive to the usual fear. What did you find most compelling about that argument?
I think it's that idea that the tool itself isn't the whole story, it's how we use it. If we just use AI to be, faster or cheaper, maybe we miss that jolt. But if we use it to ask different questions or explore things we couldn't before, maybe discover unexpected connections, then it could push our own creativity. And you can really see his math background coming through. He connects the patterns in math to the patterns in art and language. It's as much about how AI thinks mathematically as it is about the art itself.
Okay, so we have Du Sautoy pushing us on the philosophy, the what is creativity question.
Yeah.
But let's bring it back down to earth a bit. How does this actually work? If I want to create AI art, what's the process?
Right. Practically speaking, it usually starts with you, the human, giving a prompt. You type instructions into an AI art generator. These generators, they've been trained on those huge data sets we mentioned, often using what are called large language models. Think sophisticated AI trained on tons of text to understand and generate language.
Like ChatGPT and similar tech.
Exactly like that kind of tech, but often geared towards visuals. They process your request, your prompt, and then generate an image or maybe a video based on it.
So sticking with that earlier example, if I type in dogs painted in a Renaissance style.
The AI essentially cross-references. It looks at its data for dogs, looks for Renaissance style, figures out the characteristics, the lighting, the colors, the composition, and then it combines them to create a new image that fits your description.
It's like having this incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly fast artist assistant.
Pretty much, one that's
Yeah.
seen millions of paintings.
Okay, and our sources mention a few specific tools people are using. What are some of the popular ones out there right now?
Yeah, there are definitely a few big names. Midjourney is one you hear a lot about. It's known for creating quite artistic, sometimes almost dreamlike or surreal images. You often interact with it through Discord, which is a chat platform, and you can give it really detailed prompts mentioning the medium, style, colors, mood. You can even upload an image to start from.
Okay.
Then there's DALL-E from OpenAI, the same folks behind ChatGPT. It works with text prompts too, but often leans towards producing images that look more like photographs or realistic illustration.
More photorealistic.
Generally, yeah. And for people maybe in marketing or design, there's Jasper Art. It's positioned as a more advanced, maybe commercial-focused tool. It can generate images, even things that look kind of 3D, which is great for mockups. And it often ties in with their writing AI too, so you can generate visuals and text together.
Interesting. So lots of options depending on what you want to create. So, okay. This brings us to the practical side for listeners. If someone hearing this is thinking, I want to try this, what are the steps? How do you actually get started?
It's actually more accessible than you might think. The sources lay out about 5 main steps. First, obviously, choose an AI art generator. We mentioned Midjourney, DALL-E, Jasper. But there are others like Deep Dream, Adobe Firefly, even Canva has a free one now. Good advice is probably to start with a free version, play around, see which interface or style you like.
Makes sense. Test the waters.
Second step, develop your idea. What do you actually want to create? Brainstorm it. Sketch it out, maybe just in your head. Are you starting fresh or maybe modifying an existing photo?
Okay, got the idea.
Then comes the crucial part. Write your prompt. This is the text you feed the AI. Be descriptive. Different tools respond differently, so looking at sample prompts within the tool itself is usually helpful. Some let you tweak the prompt after generating, which is super useful. Others, not so much.
Trial and error involved there, I imagine.
Definitely. Which leads to step 4. Refine and experiment. Generate something. See what you get. Maybe it's perfect. Probably it's not quite right. And here's where AI art is really different from, say, painting. A mistake isn't a disaster that costs time and materials. You just tweak the prompt, maybe change a few words, and generate again. The iteration is incredibly fast.
That rapid feedback loop must be addictive.
It can be. And finally, step 5. Publish or use your art. Once you're happy, save it usually as a JPEG or PDF. You can then use it as is, or maybe import it into other software like Adobe Creative Cloud for more traditional editing or adding it to a bigger project.
So who's actually doing this most? Is it mainly artists or?
Well, anyone can, which is kind of the point.
Right.
But yeah, our sources point to a few main groups. Definitely creatives, artists, designers, using it maybe for brainstorming, getting initial ideas, overcoming creative blocks. Also, brand marketers are jumping on it for quick visual mock-ups, concept designs, that sort of thing. And then you've got graphic designers, web designers, game designers, using it for generating sample visuals quickly before they dive into the more labor-intensive creation process.
Right, using it as a rapid prototyping tool almost.
Exactly.
Okay, we've covered what it is, the history, how it works, how you can try it. But now we need to pivot to the really thorny stuff. The ethics, the limitations, the future. This feels like the heart of the deep dive. What are the big critical issues we need to think about here?
Absolutely. These are the conversations happening right now, and they're crucial. One of the absolute biggest issues is copyright. Think about it. Generative AI learns from vast amounts of existing data, images, text, music. A lot of that data belongs to some companies, individual artists, brands.
Right, so the AI trains on copyrighted material.
Potentially, yes. And that raises huge red flags, especially if you plan to publish or sell the AI-generated art. Who owns it? Does the AI company? Does the person who wrote the prompt? What about the original artist whose work indirectly informs the output? There are already court cases bubbling up around this. It's legally and ethically complex. Our sources really emphasize how this challenges traditional ideas of authorship.
Yeah, that's a fundamental shift. If the creator is this blend of human prompt AI algorithm and massive data set, who gets the credit? And does that change whether we even consider it art in the same way?
Precisely. It forces us to ask, what is originality in this context? Is it the prompt, the AI's interpretation, or something else entirely? There isn't an easy answer. And beyond the copyright and originality questions, there are also practical limitations of specificity.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we saw that generating dogs painted in a Renaissance style is something AI is pretty good at now. It can capture a general style or concept. But what if you need something incredibly precise? Like, could an AI create a technically accurate to scale 3D model of a specific building, say Dubai's Burj Khalifa, based just on a prompt?
That feels different. Less about style, more about precise data and structure.
Exactly. Current tools often struggle with that level of granular functional accuracy. They might give you something that looks like the Burj Khalifa, but is it architecturally correct down to the millimeter? Probably not from a simple text prompt. So that raises the question of where the limits are. Where does AI excel, and where is human expertise, nuanced control, and deep domain knowledge still absolutely essential? So yeah, while the future for AI and art seems bright and full of potential, there are these really significant ethical hurdles and technical limitations still being worked through. These debates are far from over.
What a fascinating journey today. We started with that provocative quote, looked at what AI art even is, discovered its surprisingly long history, then explored how it's made, how you can even start making it yourself, and now landed on these really profound questions about creativity, ownership, and the future.
It really throws into sharp relief, this dynamic, doesn't it? On one hand, you have our incredible, uniquely human capacity for creation art that moves us, changes us. And on the other hand, you have this rapidly developing AI technology that's starting to perform some of those creative tasks in certain ways just as well, or maybe even better or faster. It definitely shakes things up.
So, circling back to where we started, as AI gets better at writing, painting, thinking, as it creates this mechanical culture that might be cheaper, maybe even perfectly adequate,
Yeah.
what's left for us, for that extraordinary human ability to create, does this AI wave diminish our unique creative spark? Or maybe, as Marcus du Sautoy suggested, does it just push us? Does it jolt us into finding new ways, perhaps even more imaginative ways, to define what human creativity truly means? Something for all of us to keep thinking about, definitely.